Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our brand new episode of NASCAR Heat for Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day today. We have multiple tracks to go to, but we've come into this episode with the news of the day. Kurt Busch won in Dover after an incredible comeback after a late race crash. Still no repeat winner this season. Surprisingly, Denny Hamlin is, in my opinion, our first title contender this season. He has shown strong speed. There's a little bit of a typo there between the W and the O, I just noticed, but we can't change that now. But he showed strong speed every race there, as myself and Elliott have gotten together in the last couple races. Is this a sign of things to come? We're going to see how that turns out here in the future. But we had the Truck Series where we had Greg Biffle back in the truck here at Texas Motor Speedway. He started just outside of the top 10, and he would work his way, though, inside of the top 10 throughout this race, as he actually got passed by the 88 of Matt Kraft, and the, three-time champion, I think, now in the Truck Series. But he would come through to cross the line behind Austin Wayne Self, and Greg Biffle had come through to finish in the 7th position for us. But now we come to the Xfinity Series, where we had subscriber Josh Rhodes in the car for us. Once again, kind of like Greg Biffle, starting just a little bit outside of the top 10 here at Dover International Speedway. But he, sure enough, would be able to work his way forwards throughout this race, as he had gotten into a decent running position. Now, as we've certainly had a much stronger second season with our Xfinity team than obviously our first season went with our Xfinity team. Of course, we got a win this season earlier, and as Josh came out of turn 4, he would come through to cross the line to finish inside the top 10. P9's very solid. We would now come to Kansas here for the Cup Series in qualifying, and we would come through with a 31.177 and qualify P16. So a little bit disappointing on the qualifying effort, but hopefully we can rebound here in the race and have a strong pace. And on the pole, we got Denny Hamlin.
Good evening, race fans. This is Rick Allen. Tonight we're at Kansas Speedway for the KC Digital Ally 400. We're about a third of the way through the season. Who will make their way to victory lane and cement a spot in this year's playoffs? Let's head down to the track and find out.
Alright, thank you, Rick Allen. We're ready to go green here for the Digital Ally 400 at Kansas Speedway. Chase Elliott has been struggling all week, and we might not have to worry about him tonight and not have to worry about any contact with him now, as Matt Tiff didn't have a good practice session, and Denny Hamlin there on the pole. So nobody sent to the back. Everyone comes into this race illegal here, thankfully, in Kansas Speedways. We're ready to go green from the 16th starting position. Denny Hamlin and Alex Bowman on the front row now as the green flag is out, and we are on our way here at Kansas Speedway. Certainly one of my favorite tracks on the Cup Series schedule, my second favorite mile and a half for sure. Obviously, Homestead Miami is my favorite mile and a half and just favorite track in general on the schedule now. So obviously, mile and a halves aren't the fan favorite in my opinion, but it is certainly my favorite type of track. I love mile and a half racing now as we head down this back straightaway up the outside of the 47 of Ryan Preece as we head down towards turns 3 behind the 6 of Ryan Newman in the 22 of Joey Logano. I've been kind of wanting to get a little bit of revenge on Ryan Newman recently, but we haven't had an opportunity to do so, and I'm not just going to go and flat out wreck him here at a mile and a half track, because surprisingly, Newman hasn't taken us out one time this season, but he's certainly messed us over about 3 times or so now as we come through turns 1 and 2 on the second lap. We would continue on this outside lane. Sure enough, at the end of the second lap, we had gotten to the outside of the 6th car of Ryan Newman for Roush Fenway Racing. I see he was actually fading quite significantly. We came to lap 9 of 19 in the stage. We had now made it 3 wide with our teammate of Clint Boyer, Chris Buescher, as well in the mix as we hit 10 to go in the stages. We were slowly moving our way forwards, but it didn't really seem like in this first stage we had top 10 speed, and I was actually running a preset setup this time. I wanted to experiment a bit, so I was running a preset setup, and the caution would actually come out here a little bit later in the first stage, and this would set us up for our first round of pit stops. Everyone would eventually decide to come to the pit lane, including myself, and I took 2 cans of fuel, 4 tires. We dropped 6 positions because actually there was a few cars that stayed out, which is going to make this a very interesting restart now as the green flag is out. Alex Bowman just in front of us, he started P2, so you can see certainly he hasn't quite got the speed right now as Kyle Larson leads the way here with 6 laps to go in this first stage. Behind us it's Kevin Harvick, our teammate, who was actually well ahead of us at the caution. Jimmy Johnson just getting to the inside of the 4 of Harvick right now. As it certainly seems like the 48 lacks a lot of speed on the mile and a half, and that's going to be important for them this season now as we go down this back straightaway and leading into the 2020 DLC, if we get a 2020 DLC. I'm not sure if we're going to get one or not yet. I'm actually starting to lose a little bit of hope. We'll see, though, how that 48 could turn things around in that DLC if it happens. Now, as you can see us making some big moves on this outside lane with the slower cars in the way. All of a sudden, 5 to go. We're up to 13th. This is certainly the best we've been running so far in this first stage. Now, we're about to be into the top 10. They're getting to the outside of the 38 of David Reagan, and now we're going to cut low, and we're going to make a 4 wide for a brief moment up the middle between Ware, Reagan, and Brendan Gaughan, and all of a sudden we're up to P9, P8. We would get to the inside of LaJoy, pass him, we would run down the next group of cars, get to the inside of the 34 and the 51 of McDowell and BJ McLeod. There's who made it 3 wide with them through the travel, and we would continue running down this next group of cars as we came to the white flag here in stage 1. Eric Jones had actually been able to run us down and stick with us as we were trying to take the positions away from our teammate of Clint Boyer, who stayed out, and the 37 of Chris Buescher. Martin Truex Jr., though, he was the first car on fresh tires. He had driven away with the stage win. Kyle Larson, he stayed out under that caution, and here he is in P2 here on this final lap as we come through turns 3 and turns 4 for the final time in stage 1. Eric Jones side by side with our teammate of Clint Boyer. Now as we exit turns 4, side by side we are with Chris Buescher, but we're going to come through to get him at the line and get P3 here in stage 1, so way better than what our car is. I felt like we had a 12th to 13th place car, and here we are getting a P3 result, so I decided to actually make more wedge adjustments on the car under the pit stop, 2 cans of fuel, 4 tires, and hopefully the car was going to be loose enough to just get to my likings a little bit more as we go into stage 2. We actually gained 1 position on the pit lane, so now we are lining up P2 as the second stage is underway here at Kansas Speedway. Martin Truex Jr. will lead the way. He is still looking for win number 1 on the season. Obviously, last season, he wasn't much of a contender. He was obviously in the mix here and there, but he really wasn't much of a contender, kind of like our teammate Kevin Harvick. And now here it is again, Truex still looking for his first win of the season. Our rookie season, if I remember correctly, Truex was one of the strong contenders. I think he made the final 4, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yes, he definitely did, because he was going to win the championship until we kind of messed him over on the final lap. So unfortunate for Truex, but after that, after our rookie season, he just hasn't quite had that same speed. But here he is leading the way in stage 2, looking to potentially get a playoff point, but he has to hold off a very fast 20 car of Eric Jones, his young teammate, as they go down into turns 1 and 2. Sure enough, into turns 3 and turns 4, Jones would make a move on Truex, get to the inside, and Jones, sure enough, would take the lead away from Martin Truex Jr. for a brief period of time as we came to lap 4. Eric Almirola, my teammate, had run us down really quickly and had gotten to my inside. At this point, I thought Eric Almirola was probably the fastest car on the track, and now as we came through on lap 5, I actually had to get out of the throttle quite considerably because it got really tight, and that would allow Kyle Busch to run me down with a lot of speed into turns 3, and he would just get to my inside and blow right by me, as it's showing kind of the pace in this car. We did not have a 3rd place car at all, but here we are running in P5 as we start to fade throughout the field as the faster cars are starting to get their chances. Keselowski on lap 7 would get to my inside. As you see me getting sideways there on the entrance of the corner, the 31 of Tyler Reddick for Richard Childress Racing, he would get to my inside as well, as we now dropped to P7. And then sure enough, as we came through to lap 9, we had actually gotten a big battle with a bunch of these cars because we would all stick together here. Kyle Busch had faded back a little bit. We had been with Keselowski, the 31 of Reddick, and all of a sudden Hamlin was just behind me, and this would be a battle that would last pretty much throughout the rest of the stage here, but there's still only 8 laps to go. Martin Truex Jr. leading the way though over 2nd place Eric Jones, 3rd place Eric Almirola. We come to lap 11. You see we're going 3 wide with Keselowski and Kyle Busch there for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 18 cars to go down into turns 1. Hamlin had gone past us all, and he was trying to check out. He did not want any part of this race here with myself, Reddick, Keselowski, and Kyle Busch. Hamlin, sure enough, opened up that gap. Now as it calmed down a little bit here as we were racing with Kyle Busch, but then sure enough we come to lap 15, continuing to be 3 wide there as we came out of turns 2, and now Reddick had slid up in front of me. Kyle Busch was on my inside. Now as we head down this back straightaway, approaching just 2 to go, but the caution comes out as we approach 2 laps to go here in stage 2, and that will end the stage, and Martin Truex Jr. will get a playoff point, and now we will have to come back to the pit lane from P7. Obviously, we would take 2 cans of fuel, 4 tires, and once again I would make another wedge adjustment and try to loosen up the car. We would be lining up in P6 on row number 3 on the outside as the green flag is back up. The 3rd and final stage is underway here at Kansas Speedway. 28 laps remain, so definitely a bunch of time here, and if it stays green, we will have a green flag pit stop. Obviously, last time we had green flag pit stops at Talladega, did not go well in our favor. We got a speeding penalty, and then obviously we had another error as well, and we got sent to the back after running really good all day. So my hope here today was if we have another green flag pit stop, we won't have those same issues now as we come through turns 3 and turns 4. Martin Truex Jr. leads over second place of Tyler Reddick. Reddick still looking for win number 1, which I robbed him of his first career win at Homestead, Miami in our rookie season. I still feel pretty bad for that one, and that was quite a while ago. Now as we get past Eric Jones down into turns 1, running that high lane, as you guys know, obviously if I can run that top lane, I'm going to get up there as soon as I possibly can. Here as we exit turns 2 side by side with the JGR driver of Eric Jones. Now Jimmy Johnson actually up inside the top 10, just showing that 48 of being a lot more competitive this season in our career mode. Obviously he won at Auto Club there, maybe a little bit of a fluke because Johnson hasn't been in consideration for a win since then, or even before that. Now it's actually Johnson, he had actually gone past me a little bit later in this stage, but we would actually battle back and just drive right back past me. He'd only gotten past me for a very short period of time. Larson had passed me, as obviously you guys noticed on the short run I've been falling back quite significantly. The 42, like I said, passed me. Kyle Busch was side by side with myself as we were down in P10 at this point as we hit just 20 laps to go. Eric Jones had driven away. Almirola had gotten past me. Now he came through on lap 52. Still kind of battling it out there with the 42 of Larson and the 18 of Kyle Busch, as you see me giving the bumper to the 42 as Denny Hamlin at this point was leading the way with only 15 laps to go, as we're just kind of surrounded with the 42 and 18 for a good chunk of this third and final stage. We had actually had to start thinking about potential green flag pit stops now as it continued to go green here in the stage. As I go to the outside of the 42 of Larson there down into turn 3, trying to get P9 away, as I did not want to be on that bottom lane as we come through the center of the corner. But the right front tire was certainly wearing really quickly. Usually the right rear tire wears the fastest, but this time it was the right front as we would go 3 wide with the two Kyles of Busch and Larson. Now as we hit 14 laps to go, as we go down into turns 1, sure enough, we would continue this battle. This time I go 3 wide up the middle between the two Kyles as we come through this tri-oval, hitting 13 to go, and then we would have to get ready to make a green flag pit stop. My tire was wearing really quick, so I dropped down to that bottom lane behind Kyle Busch, pushed him out in front of Larson, and I decided right here we're going to pit about a lap or so early and see if we can maybe get lucky here now as we come through down into the pit lane, making our first green flag pit stop of the day. 2 cans of fuel. I was going to drop it down to 1.5, and 2 right side tires was going to be the call here, and I was hoping that was going to work out, but we end up getting a caution just like we did in Talladega. So I decide, okay, 4 tires, 2 cans of fuel is what we would put in the car, and then I decided this time what I'm going to do differently is to choose not to pit under this actual menu, and this would give us the lead here in Kansas. So all of a sudden, here we are leading with less than 10 laps to go after a strategy call has paid off in our favor as the green flag is out and we are underway with just 8 laps to go here at Kansas Speedway. Can we hold on? We all know right now we do not have the fastest car. We're like a 10th place car in reality, but we found ourselves in stage 1 in a really good position towards the end of the stage, and now we find ourselves out front. So can we be defensive enough to hold this field off? That's kind of how we got our first career win in the Cup Series back in our rookie season in the Coca-Cola 600, which we go to in the next episode, so hopefully we can have a good run there. I'm not doing anything special for that one. We won't be running Indy or Monaco, but sure enough, we came to lap 61. Joey Logano had pounced on my inside as I just didn't have the speed, but I knew if I went to the bottom, I wasn't gonna have the speed I needed to actually be able to battle, so I had to commit to this outside lane, side drafting the 22 of the Penske driver of Joey Logano as he looks to take the win here as he has passed us, but surprisingly, I was able to hang on with him much more than I anticipated. But Denny Hamlin, he would actually run his way up to P3, and then sure enough on lap 63 through turns 3 and turns 4, Hamlin gets to my inside as we come through the center of the corner behind us. So the 32 of Corey LaJoie goes spinning into the outside, while the 52, the 34, the 43 all make some contact. A part of that now as that brings out the caution and will force overtime. We had Hamlin when the caution came out, which will line us up P2, which was not what I wanted now, as the green flag once again is back out here in Kansas, and we are underway for overtime here at Kansas Speedway. Joey Logano and myself on the front row, Hamlin behind us, the points leader, still looking for his first win of the season, surprisingly, as we're side by side down into turns 1 and turns 2. We're going to have to side draft the 22 as much as possible. Now as Kurt Busch and Truex are side by side behind us, now as we're side drafting the 22 very hard as we try to mess up his lane into turn 3, but now Kurt Busch is going to stick his nose up the outside 3 wide for the lead for a very brief moment now as Logano is clear as we exit turns 4. knowing we don't have the fast car, or the fastest car, I wasn't really surprised by this, but I was still giving it everything I had to try and steal the victory. But now Hamlin seems to have a lot of speed as go down into turns 1, as we're going to clip him in the right rear as he hit the brakes there, trying to not hit the 22, and that completely messes up our corners. We come through turns 1 and 2. Hamlin's going to get to the inside of the 22 of Logano. Larson to my left rear, side by side with his teammate of Kurt Busch, as we're going to play it safe and run that top through turns 3 and turns 4. Larson to the bottom. Hamlin, though, will take the lead out of turns 4, and for the first time this season, Denny Hamlin will win and continue the streak of non-repeat winners this season here in Kansas, as we come through to finish in the 3rd position. Jimmy Johnson with another top 10. He rounds it out there with Alex Bowman down there 14th, William Byron 19th, and then Chase Elliott down there in 34th. A very bad race for Chase Elliott, and after the race, I said, great result tonight. We didn't have winning speed, but I gave it my all. In the reality, we had a 10th to 12th place car probably in that final stage, and we somehow got P3 out of it. So very, very happy with that now, as there was really nothing to complain about for us in that race, as everything went well, other than we just didn't quite have the speed to be able to race against Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. We had a lot more competitive speed, though, in those final few laps than I thought we would have. It's just in turns 1 on the final lap just didn't go like I wanted it to, as I didn't anticipate the checkup from the 11 of Denny Hamlin. But as always, if you guys did enjoy this episode, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Those would all be very appreciated. In the next one, though, we go to Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600 at Dover in the truck, so we'll see how that one goes, as I'm very excited for this one, the track that we got our first career win at in our career mode series. So we're going to see what we can do there. As you see the playoff grid once again, and right now only 4 guys in on points, and it continues to get slimmer and slimmer for guys on points right now. So we'll see what happens in the Coca-Cola 600, a 4-stage race, a very long one, so hopefully we can come out on top. So thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. So I will see you guys in the next one for Charlotte. Have a great day, everybody.